You know, there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. The Bodfather.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, this is William Bagley, writer-director of the Murder Podcast, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather, and as always, I bring you guys and gals awesome interviews. But before I bring on my awesome guests for today's podcast, please get out to YouTube and check out the YouTube page. Subscribe to BODS Mayhem Hour. Click that notification bell to subscribe because we got a lot of great stuff coming in, and you definitely want to subscribe and check all that out. Plus, we got giveaways coming up. And we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, but so close, but yet so far. I'm at 923 at the time of this interview. So come on, folks, help me out. But I want to welcome in our interviewee today. He is Atlanta-based filmmaker William Bagley. He's the director of the comedy horror, The Murder Podcast. And it's William's, and I hope you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, directorial debut. The Murder Podcast premiered at the Nashville Film Festival earlier this year, and also check out William's previous movies, Hector Felix and Post Fontaine. And we'll welcome William to the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. You got all that right. You did your homework.
That's right. Podcasters, do yourself a favor that they send you stuff, research. All that information's at the tip of your fingers on that keyboard. Just start typing.
There we go.
So how you been doing, man, with all this filming and plus the pandemic? I mean, how did that affect you while trying to film and create your movies?
Oh, man. Okay, so let's see. I wrote this script. I finished it in January of 2020, and then we were planning to shoot in April of 2020. And, of course, that did not happen because the world shut down in March of 2020. So we kind of delayed filming up until August of 2020, when most of us were going back. Well, me and the producers were going back and doing these smaller shoots, and we kind of decided, we're like, hey, well, if we're doing smaller shoots, let's go ahead and shoot this movie. And actually, because a lot of the bigger shoots weren't happening, so I work in the film industry, I didn't say that, but because a lot of the bigger shoots weren't happening, I was able to bring in a bunch of really talented guys and give them, something to do, and they were ready to come hang out. So, we got a lot of favors because of the pandemic, and it was crazy, man. But, I mean, we did the whole thing. We did the COVID check. We had a COVID compliance officer, all that stuff,
How excited are you to release this Murder Podcast, man? How excited are you to finally get this out to everybody?
Oh, man, you don't even know. I'm so excited. It's interesting because it's something that you spend so long doing it. When you think, I'm going to make a movie, I'm going to shoot for 2 weeks. It's yeah, but really, you're going to work on it for 2.5 years. So I was just so you know. So, I'm so pumped to get it out there. And it's at the point now where, the general public can go watch it, which is just great. Because that's who this movie is made for. We did film festivals, which was awesome. But now, just random people can go and watch this movie, and I really hope they enjoy it. So I'm super excited. Super excited.
What got you into wanting to make movies, man? What was it that gave you that spark that said, yeah, I want to try this. I want to try to be a director and make my own movies?
I think, let's see here. I mean, so I've always liked telling stories. Back in the day, I went through all the phases. I wanted to be an author, but I don't really like actually typing that much. And then I wanted to be a comic book artist, but I don't have the patience to draw every frame or every little panel. Then I wanted to be an animator, but then I realized that that's even more patience required. So I think it kind of just led to filmmaking. And honestly, the main thing that I loved was editing. I really liked editing. And I was working on other people's films as an editor, but I think I was realizing that the stuff I liked editing the most was the stuff that I had written or directed. And so kind of just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to be a director. Let's see how this goes. And just started making shorts. They did well. Made a feature. It's doing well. So, hey, man.
Where did your ideal come from for this movie?
Well, so there's two parts to that answer. So the first was I was shooting a documentary in Maine, and I met this guy from Salem, Massachusetts, who had just gone, I guess, to some of the witch trial stuff. And he said he'd been at a gravesite where they put coins on these witches' graves to, like, essentially keep the spirits at bay. And I was like, that sounds like a really cool idea for a horror movie. But when I got home, I started researching it, and I couldn't find anything that said that this was a thing. Like, I found one website that was like, yeah, coins, but that was it. So I was like, well, I'm going to stick with it because it's still a really cool idea. And then that combined with this other idea I had, my wife was listening to every single, true crime murder podcast at the time. And they're like the biggest thing in the world. And that kind of just combined with this idea of these two guys who try to do a true crime podcast, but it turns out it's a supernatural mystery. Things get wild. Yeah, man.
I watched a preview of this, and it's absolutely funny. I mean, these two guys who are in this movie that's gone on this big adventure are fit and made for this movie because they feed off each other perfectly. And I'm sure when you was making this movie, because let's talk about their lines. I mean, did they throw stuff in there that you didn't have in the movie just to make it, I don't know, more funnier? Because I mean, these two dudes are absolutely hilarious, and in my opinion.
Heck yeah. So we actually didn't improv as much as you would think. There's a few amazing improv lines that are in the movie, but because we were on such a tight schedule, pretty much the way it would work is I would be like, all right, guys, let's shoot what's in the script. And if we get that good, let's do it again, or do something a little different with what's in the script. And then if we get that good and there's time, let's do an improv take. But for the most part, there wasn't really time. So it's pretty close to the script. There's definitely a few lines in there. Like Cooper has some really good improv lines. He's the one who plays Eddie. Chad has a few. Brian has a few. But for the most part, I mean, it's pretty much what's in the script, which is kind of wild.
These two dudes are like night and day. I mean, you got one guy who thinks he knows it all and he's going to solve this mystery, and his buddy's like, I'm not too sure about this. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what's going on. Let's do this. His buddy, of course, follows him, does whatever they do, and finally the other one that is the knight is like, no, dude, this ain't going to go well. And so, sure enough, the buddy that's a knight is totally right. But he goes along with him anyway. So that's a trick.
Yeah, I think honestly, one of the reasons their characters work so well is when I was writing the script, I was imagining those two actors. So Andrew is one of my really good friends, and Cooper, the two of us had actually just shot a short with him not that long before. So I was thinking of them when I was writing it, and I was like, they can play these roles, like they can fit these characters really well, and they totally did. Yeah, it works out great, man. There's some good chemistry there, which is awesome.
Any influences from any other movie went into this film? Because I know films are hard to come up with these days, but was there anything that you paid homage to possibly in this? Because I know sometimes there's Easter eggs in these movies.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right off the bat, the Fellowship of the Ring, the first Lord of the Rings. I mean, we were pulling all sorts of references from that. Like, the every time you see the coin, it's basically like the ring. It's that same feeling of like, oh, yeah. So definitely lots of Fellowship of the Ring. Also, I love Edgar Wright. I love anything that Edgar Wright does. So, I think he's a massive influence on me. We weren't necessarily like paying homage to any of his stuff there, but I think just his filmmaking in general has definitely influenced how I make movies. But yeah, those two for sure. And then a lot of just scary movies in general. Chapter 1, the 2017 one, was also a pretty big influence there. So.
Oh man, it just came to my mind. Precious, look at the coin, the precious coin.
Right. Yeah. See, there was one of the actresses. We were going over the scene, and it's where she's looking at the coin, like when she first finds it. And I was giving her all this direction. I was like, yeah, so like, you're gonna be kind of feel like you're compelled to grab it, but you're not really sure because maybe is there something bad coming from it? And then I stopped and I was like, actually, have you seen Lord of the Rings? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, just pretend that's the ring. And she goes, okay. And like, nailed it.
There are so many paths this movie could have taken. And I know you've been doing this for a while, but was it hard to stay on track with what you had written and scene-wise, not to stray from the movie's authenticity that you wanted to do?
No, I don't think so. It was, once again, just because of that schedule. Like, we were just going so fast. The only thing you could do was get what was on the page. Like, you had to make sure you made your day. You had to make sure you got the stuff you needed. I will say, while we were shooting it, because I also edited it, you know, we didn't have anyone cutting it together to make sure things were working. So I had to be very confident in myself and be like, this is totally going to work, but also not actually knowing if it was going to work. And it wasn't until I was cutting it together that I was like, oh, good, it's working. Like, everything that I was being like, yeah, this is totally going to work. It actually worked. So, but yeah, man.
After being on set and seeing this movie come to life and seeing the final product, was it hard, William, to subtract anything from it? Or was you guys just on so much short of a time frame that you said, nope, let's go, let's do it?
We pretty much shot everything. So everything that was in the script, we did shoot it. I cut down a couple of scenes within the edit, but every scene that was written is in there. I just actually cut some a little bit shorter. So like at the very end of the movie, when Chad and Eddie are in the car, that lasts a little bit longer in the original script. There's more talking. But I showed it to my wife, and she was like, I don't think you really need all that. And I was like, you know what? You're kind of right. Let's just cut to the punch. So there's a few other scenes like that where you trim the fat. But I mean, that's the most important part of editing. Just like kill your darlings and trim the fat and go for it. So right now I'm really happy with it. There's not much that I think could be trimmed. So
are we going to see a part 2 to this possibly?
Hey man, if it does well enough, I would gladly make a part 2. We do have an idea. It'd be a very silly version where Chad and Eddie give up on podcasting and move on to YouTube, and they have to team up with DeBurn Knightley, the news guy, to like, you know, really get into the video world.
Oh my God. Yes, and they can be like, "Are we really doing this again? I thought we went down this."
So yeah, people want it. If people want it, we'll make it.
Do you prefer working with upcoming actors and actresses, or does it really matter? Or have you had that taste to work with like an actual big movie star before?
As a director, I haven't worked with any big movie stars yet. I've shot a lot of stuff where I've been like the camera guy around big talent, and I think for the most part, it's just like working with anybody else. But in the indie world, if you can get name talent, it does a lot for your movie. I mean, it takes it to a next level. So hopefully we will have some names in whatever we do next, just because it sadly is important. People like to click on things where they know the face.
Yeah, YouTube sadly likes that clickbait. And
they do.
It's like, how'd that
like,
get
oh, Brad Pitt?
Yeah, it's like, how'd that get 1 million views? And it has nothing that even remotely comes close to what it says on the thumbnail.
Oh, yeah, man.
When you see the feedback from people watching these films that you've created, saying cut down on this or need to add more of this, do you take that into consideration, or do you just let the film come together and do its own thing, or what? What do you do?
I think I definitely listen to people. I like hearing their opinion. Usually, though, I take notes very much like maybe not specifically what they're saying. It depends on what it is. Like, you know, if it's a very specific note, like, oh, I don't like that shot, you should probably cut that down. It's honestly usually not always the shot. It's more that something within the scene isn't working. And so I think going back and relooking at the scene and figuring out what's going on, because sometimes you'll change something completely different and then show it to them, and they'll be like, oh, it's perfect now. So I think it's a lot of like looking past the notes. You know, sometimes there's definitely good stuff in there, but I think looking past the notes and trying to figure out, be like, okay, well, if they're saying that this cut feels weird, maybe it's because the pacing of the scene is off or something, you know. So
did you have like any stressful days working on this movie? Did you feel like you was really too short on time to actually do this? And was you like, I don't know how this is going to come out?
Oh, yes. Day 13 of 14, we were in the woods. It was a night shoot. It was about 3:30 in the morning. And, you know, we'd been shooting for the past 13 days. You know, we had a couple days off. But it's like 3:30 in the morning. We'd done a night shoot the night before. And I just remember standing there. And at one point, I just didn't really know what to do next. It was like my brain just stopped working. Like, you know, Alex, our DP, was like, all right, what are we setting up for next? And, you know, our actors over here, like, getting ready. And I'm like, it was like my brain just stopped. So I was like, hang on, guys, I need to take 5. I, like, walked out over into the woods and, like, stood by myself for a minute. And and Alex came up to me. He's like, hey, man. He's like, you just need to, like, do something. Chug a Red Bull, and let's just shoot something. It doesn't really matter what it is. Let's just shoot something. And I was like, all right, let's go. And so I ran over there, chugged a Red Bull, and I was like, give me a push-in. And we did this crazy push-in that I didn't think was going to make the cut. But you know what? It turned in. It totally did. But everyone liked that because it was a pumped-up camera move, and then we, like, continued out through the rest of the day. But there were plenty of times on that movie where I was like, is this working? Is this? I'm so stressed.
I got to know this, though. There's so many movies that's been made. How do you stay fresh as a director or just a film creator to say, like, this is a specific movie I want to do, but not be like everybody else? I don't want to create a movie like everybody else has done, but how hard is that to do these days? Because everything under the sun has been done.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, but I think as long as you're making the movie that you want to watch, that's going to come through. I think a lot of people try to make movies that they think other people are going to watch, and that's when it starts to feel unauthentic and a little unoriginal. But if it's the movie that you want to watch, like if you're making the movie that you would be clicking on, it's going to have that come through, and I think that personality is going to come through and all that stuff. So that's what I try to do, at least. I just try to make the movies that I would want to see.
So are you more along the lines of horror comedy, or do you want to eventually make a gory B movie?
Definitely horror comedy. I mean, I wouldn't turn down a gory B movie, but I think, honestly, everything that I write ends up being somewhat comedic. The other stuff we're working on right now, one's like an action comedy, another's another horror comedy. So I think that's just comedy mixed with other genres I think is my realm.
God, man, I love the one with Leslie Nielsen. I think it's Dracula something. What was it?
I don't know if I've seen that, but that sounds awesome.
Oh, man. Oh, it's absolutely hilarious. It's got Leslie Nielsen in it, from Naked Gun and Airplane. I mean, this dude is, you just got to watch it. I cannot remember what it is, but I'll send it to you. I'll send you the name up. But
please do.
William, he's dancing with this girl, and she's spinning all around by herself. And then in the mirrors, you see he's not even there. Like Dracula, he's a vampire. You don't see yourself in the reflection. And it's funny because she's just sitting there spinning, and her date's like, "Oh my God!" It's like a comedy of Van Helsing going after Dracula. That's what it was.
Oh man, I totally watched that.
Oh, dude, I watch it. I can watch it every single day, all day long.
There we go.
I can't remember the name. It's like Christmas Lampoon or Christmas Vacation, Lampoon's National Christmas Vacation. I should say that's my favorite Christmas movie, and I can watch it every day, every hour, every day. But it's so good. It's so good.
Dude,
yeah.
Sounds awesome. I'm totally going to check it out.
Did anything crazy or weird or funny maybe go on this set, man? Was there anything out of like left field that came into this that kind of, played into this movie to like say, well, that actually fits good here?
We didn't have anything supernatural happen. If that's what you're asking, it was pretty unsupernatural. I'm trying to think. Anything weird though? I don't know. I honestly, I would have to think about that. I'm sure there was something weird that happened at some point, but
what do you hope everyone takes away while watching this movie, man? Once they sit down and start to watch it, what do you hope they get from it?
Honestly, I just hope you have a good time. I hope you really enjoy yourself and you finish the movie and you're like, that was fun. That was a good time. Thanks for hanging.
Since it's Halloween, man, I got to ask you this. What's your favorite horror movie or franchise? Possibly, if you have one. I know everybody does, but what's your favorite one?
My favorite horror franchise?
Either one. Doesn't matter.
Okay, let's see here. I'm not going to lie, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I actually really enjoy the Conjuring franchise for some reason. I think Conjuring 2 is one of the most fun movies ever. Like, it's a good, scary movie. It's got, like, fun scares, though, where, like, you're like, this isn't... It's terrifying, but it's also really fun. I love that movie. I think it's great. And I like all the other ones in the franchise. I wouldn't say all of them are fantastic, but they're all good horror movies. I also really like the first It. I'm a big fan of that one. Didn't like the second one as much. I love horror comedy. I think Ready or Not's amazing. That's definitely way more of a comedy, though, in my opinion. Yeah, I'll stick with The Conjuring for now.
I'm like you. I like the originals that come out. Sometimes these part 2, part 3s just stretches out a little bit too far for me. I was very happy with the first Halloween that came out that was remade. Not Rob Zombies.
Yeah.
Not Zombies. That's an X. That's not even remotely close in the franchise. And I agree with John Carpenter. Next. Anyway. Yeah, the remake of the Halloween, that was good. I liked it. Second one, I liked it, but I wouldn't like, yay. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't like that, And this one, I've heard everybody's input, and I hate when they do that. Oh, God, I hate when they do that. I'm just like, look, just if you don't like it, don't say nothing. Don't waste, If somebody wants to watch it, if you want to watch it, go watch it. I mean, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to binge watch all 3 when this one actually comes out on DVD, and I'm going to sit down and watch all 3 of them.
There we go.
And then if I get pissed about the last one, I'll just go, huh, man.
I haven't seen the last one, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm hearing things, which I don't know if they're good.
I mean, do you want to see Michael Myers riding around in a electric wheelchair with a butcher knife? I mean, come on. That's
really.
just... Yeah.
That was my problem with, what was it, Batman Rises, the third Christopher Nolan one, where I was like, he's so old. Like, why is he getting his butt beat? Like, he's an old man now. What's up with this?
It's like there's so many forms of the Batman movies. It's like, where do you start? Where do I go?
Right? Let's just make him old.
Yeah. William, I want to thank you for taking time out to do this interview with me today. How can folks stay in touch with you, with your films? Buy this one, of course. Watch the old ones that you got out. Tell me exactly how they can do that and stay in touch with you, my friend.
Heck yeah. Well, so as of today, the Murder Podcast is available to rent on Amazon if you're in the United States or the UK, which is awesome. You can also head over to murderpodcastmovie.com where you can see other ways you can watch the film. You can keep in contact with me through my Instagram. That's probably the only social media that I'm on somewhat. And that's, William_Bagley, Bagley. And go check us out. Go watch the movie. I think you'll like it.
Folks, trust me. Yeah, I saw the previews of this. I didn't get to actually watch the screen or anything, but let me tell you something. The previews are absolutely hilarious, in my opinion. So check this out for sure. So, William, my friend, would you care to do a promo for my show before I let you go?
Hey, this is William Bagley, director of the Murder Podcast, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Get out and check out our Facebook page. It has that podcast link, and you want to get out and subscribe to the podcast link on YouTube. Just click the notification bell. Subscribe to me. I guarantee you'll like my videos. You'll like these podcasts, these interviews. Trust me, I guarantee you will. Check out William Bagley's new movie, The Murder Podcast. Go out and check it out and let them know what you think about it. I guarantee you guys are going to dig this. So, William, again, thank you for doing the podcast, man. And I truly appreciate you. And I know, I wish you nothing but the best of luck, man.
Thank you.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.